GVB Lover 77 says, since JBL was supposed to be a J.R. Ewing kind of character, I was wondering if John ever met Larry Hagman, and did he have any feedback on the JBL character that he felt like was similar to the J.R. Ewing character?
Yeah, I've been to South Fork Ranch, and I did some vignettes there. Had a lot of fun there, going there and seeing that because I was a huge J.R. Ewing fan. Vince never saw JBL as J.R. Ewing, ever. I've heard an interview he did where they asked about it, and he just looked at it like the guy had three heads. He never saw it that way. I saw it that way. I mean, I saw it as J.R. Ewing ripoff is how I saw it, and a Ted DiBiase ripoff. But Vince didn't see it that way. So there was never association with J.R. Ewing because Vince did not see this as a J.R. Ewing character. Me personally, that's where I got a lot of inspiration from.
Man, that's pretty cool. I know that we talked about him once with JR, and he met Larry, and he didn't feel like Larry was too thrilled that he was calling himself JR and wearing a cowboy hat.
Like J.R. Ewing, Larry Hagman always wore a cowboy hat through the airports, to kayfabe and not that anybody thought he was a real J.R. Ewing, but he wanted people to see the character.
Yes. WA2K99 says, why did JBL almost always wear a white cowboy hat? That's an interesting question.
I think it had to do with JBL thought he was the hero.
Yes.
And, JBL thought he was an American hero. JBL thought, a true heel believes they're the hero in the play. And, it may be a perverted version of why you think you're the hero, but you think you're the hero. So JBL always thought he was the hero. So a white hat JBL wouldn't have wore a black hat. I mean, JBL would think that's for bad guys.
Curtis Frost had a tweet that I thought was kind of interesting. I met JBL, Ron, and Teddy Long at the Hard Rock Cafe during a family vacation in high school. They were nice enough to give me their autographs. But what's the most respectful way to approach a wrestler when you see them in the wild? So that brings about that is a good question. You should answer that for people who are looking to meet a wrestler. But at the same time, I want to know, what is the weirdest experience you've had? Like where someone asked for an autograph and you were like, now? We're doing this now? You have to have one of those.
Oh, yeah. I've had it. I had it in the bathroom. I had to do it at WrestleMania one time during a break. Guy wanted to get a selfie with me while I'm literally at the urinal taking a leak. So it was because I snuck out and gone to a bathroom, and I didn't realize it was a public bathroom. When they see me, they realize that, hey, there's JBL. I've got to get back within 2 minutes to get to the announce table. I didn't realize it was a public bathroom because back then me and Cole did the whole show. So he'd be out there for 5 hours counting the pre-show. And people were trying to take selfies with me while I'm taking a leak. So it was it was a very unique experience.
Can't imagine.
Back in the day, I didn't sign anything. I didn't sign nothing. I mean, I'd go in. I remember one time I was walking into an arena and some lady told me, she goes, hey, listen, I know you're just playing a bad guy, and I want to get my kid's picture with you and some autographs and stuff. And I just looked at her and walked off. And she goes, you're an asshole. Perfect. Yes, I am. But, we kayfabe back then. And, a lot of guys didn't, but, I did. And I always thought I thought it was important, especially around arenas, because that's your hardcore fans. That's why I didn't sell any merchandise in arenas. I didn't want somebody buying a JBL shirt and seeing that on television. It looked like I had a fan. I didn't want a hardcore fan that had sat outside the building to sit there at ringside and say, hey, man, I met JBL back there. He's nothing like his character. He's really a nice guy, because that spreads. And I think it hurts you. Right or wrong, that's how I did. That's how I was broke into the business. I know it's changed, but it was changing then too. It was rare that I was one of the ones that still did that.
Great question here from someone somewhere. He says, was there ever a time a talent asked you to take a little something off the clothesline from hell? Also, is there a time where you delivered a clothesline from hell and immediately thought, oh shit, I killed him? Thank you. And you're doing great on the pod. Years ago when I was talking to Mick Foley, he told me that there were two types of mandible claws. One where it was a working mandible claw, no insertion. And then the real mandible claw, of course, he's not actually going to apply a bunch of pressure. Were there two versions of the clothesline from hell?
Of course there is. Yeah, of course there is. You've got certain clotheslines. And the main thing is the clothesline from hell, you have to understand, if the guy bumps well, it looks terrific. Nobody gets hurt. If the guy didn't bump well, we both get hurt. So, I'm always, especially if I'm going around like on Independence or something, you don't know how a guy's going to take it. And if they freeze up and stand there and turn, mean, you can blow out a bicep, you can blow out a shoulder. You're going to hurt them. You're going to hurt yourself. And so you want to be higher. You want to be more into the body, so there's a lot more contact being made in case they don't know how to bump. Now, as far as just maliciousness, not necessarily. I mean, the clothesline, it was always a finish. It was usually filmed. So I usually always had to deliver it in a way that made it look good, whether it was a guy that you liked very much or a guy that you didn't know very well.
John, we are recording right now on Friday morning, and I know that this show comes out on Monday. So I apologize, but this is probably old news to a lot of you as you're listening right now. But in the last 10 minutes, we've got a tweet from Vince McMahon that I need to share with you, John. The case is closed. Today ends nearly 3 years of investigation by different governmental agencies. There's been a great deal of speculation about what exactly the government was investigating and what the outcome would be. As today's resolution shows, much of that speculation was misguided and misleading. In the end, there was never anything more to this than minor accounting errors with regard to some personal payments that I made several years ago while I was CEO of WWE. I'm thrilled that I can now put all of this behind me. We haven't heard from Vince in a while. So for him to come out and have a statement like this, where it starts with the case is closed, that's going to be big news that everybody's talking about all weekend. Obviously you're getting this fresh just as I am. What do you make of that?
My first meeting with Vince, when I went up to Titan Towers, I didn't meet him when I had the trial match. I met him later, and as I've said before, I kind of fell into Vince's lap. He didn't go looking for me. I just kind of showed up at his doorstep, and I remember walking in, and I'd heard everything about him. I mean, everything, back in the day, man, there were rumors that were worse than what they are now. As far as, all, you name it, there were rumors. It tends to happen when you have a guy who doesn't respond. Vince doesn't respond to a lot of stuff. He didn't back then either. So when you make up a rumor, it just kind of takes a life of its own, whether it's true or not. And I remember sitting there with Vince, and he sat there and he said, I told the government, and he put up his middle finger like that. And he said, and I beat him. He said, not worried about it at all. And I remember thinking, this is a ballsy dude, man. This he ain't scared of nothing. Now, not talking about the veracity of any of these claims or stuff, but Vince has won lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. He doesn't settle, not normally. He's willing to fight. He's got a great attorneys, and he's willing to prove. He's one of the few guys, that has money that's willing to prove that he is right about things. And I say right, that's going to get all kinds of, right about stuff like this. I don't know any stuff about these other claims that, have been there. I didn't hear about them when I was there, and I'm reading about them like everybody else. Don't know any of the truth or not of any of them.